Something crazy is going down in the Montana State House. I know that sounds kind of random. What kind of political drama happens in Montana? Not a lot, not usually. But right now, there is a state legislator by the name of Zooey Zephyr, or at least that's the name that this person has, or the name that this person uses to identify themselves. It's actually a biological man who claims to be transgender, now calls himself Zooey Zephyr. And he's created quite a ruckus in the Montana House of Representatives because he opposed a bill. It's Senate Bill 99 for anybody interested. Senate Bill 99 would ban transgender surgeries for children, and that includes not just the surgeries themselves, but also puberty-blocking hormones, cross-sex hormones, any kind of medical surgical transition for minors. Senate Bill 99 had already passed. This is the extra strange part. Senate Bill 99 had already passed in the Montana State House, in the Montana State Senate, and the governor of Montana gave a line item veto to this bill, which means he basically sent it back for edits. He said, yeah, I'll sign this if you address X, Y, and Z. In fact, let's not just call it X, Y, and Z. Let's read what he said. It's Governor Greg Gianforte. He said, as currently written, Senate Bill 99 provides an imprecise definition of male and female. As currently written, the bill does not contemplate treatment for a child requiring a necessary medical procedure because he or she was born with a medically verifiable disorder of sex development. Finally, as currently written, the bill is unclear about public funding restrictions. So, in other words, the governor of Montana wanted restrictions for intersex individuals, which is a legitimate medical condition. It's not a mental condition. It is a physical deformity, essentially, where an individual, it's very rare, an individual is born with at least some of both male and female sex organs, regardless of what the DNA shows here. So this is the background, what's happening in Montana. It's a great bill. I'm glad it passed. I hope that the governor ultimately signs it. But when the governor sent it back to the legislature with these amendments, this transgender representative, Zooey Zephyr, started making a fuss. In fact, this video, you might have seen this on Twitter or on another social network because it went very viral. Zephyr actually told Republicans in the House of Representatives that if they passed this bill, they would have, quote, blood on their hands. Take a look at this.
And the only thing I will say is if you vote yes on this bill and yes on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation, when you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands.
So that's pretty obviously a violation of the decorum of any house, any deliberative house. But then when the vote actually happened, Zooey Zephyr participated in a raucous, disruptive disruption of the process of the House. And I'm going to show you that video in just a second. Okay, so the original comment from Zooey Zephyr, blood on your hands, that was the initial violation, decorum violation. This is not permitted in any state legislature, not in Montana, not anywhere to my knowledge, shouldn't be at least. But then Zooey Zephyr participated in a demonstration on the floor of the Montana House of Representatives where he raised up a microphone to amplify the voices of protesters who were in the balcony disrupting this vote. Take a look at this.
Clerk, record the vote.
Mr. Chair, 63 representatives voted aye, 34 voted no.
Ruling of the Speaker has been upheld. Guests will come to order. Our guests will come to order. Our guests will come to order. Sergeant of Arms, will you please clear the gallery? Members, will you please go to the side of the chambers? Members, please go to the side of the chambers.
You can see Zephyr right there in the middle, standing in that striped dress, holding that microphone up. This, by the way, was about a different bill. This was about parental notification laws. If your child's in school and transitioning, whether you as a parent have a right to access that information or whether the school is allowed to just trans your kid without your knowing. So as a result of these behaviors, the Montana State House of Representatives censured Zephyr and actually prohibited Zephyr from participating in debate on the floor of the House for the rest of the session. Now, the rest of the session is like one more week. We're right at the end of the session. Zephyr's still allowed to vote. not allowed to be on the floor because of disruptive behavior, but still allowed to vote. So not taking away, not disenfranchising the people who voted for this individual. And yet Zephyr is, of course, doing what you would expect and politicizing this. Zephyr said that the Republicans who do control the Montana House are using the idea of decorum as a, quote, tool of oppression. Take a listen to this.
And in that hearing, our caucus pleaded with the Republican chair of the Judiciary Committee to not allow certain testimony, to keep decorum. And we were told a lot of people have a lot of opinions on these things. So when I rose up and said, there is blood on your hands, I was not being hyperbolic. I was speaking to the real consequences of the votes that we as legislators take in this body. And when the speaker asks me to apologize, what he is, on behalf of decorum, what he is really asking me to do is be silent when my community is facing bills that get us killed. He is asking me to be complicit in this legislature's eradication of our community, and I refuse to do so, and I will always refuse to do so. I would also say that if you use decorum to silence people who hold you accountable, then in the name of all you are doing is using decorum as a tool of oppression. Additionally, when the speaker disallowed me to speak, what he was doing is taking away the voices of the 11,000 Montanans who elected me to speak on their behalf.
Literally every single thing he says right there is patently false. In fact, fun fact, the Dutch studies, which were the studies that that the Dutch conducted that underpin the gender-affirming model, there was actually an 18-year-old young man who died undergoing these transgender surgeries. So you want to talk about blood on your hands. You want to talk about actual death. You want to talk about harm to transgender bodies. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about these transgender surgeries. But of course, not one to let a political opportunity go to the side. Zephyr, tweeted this picture. I want to show this picture on the screen. This is Zephyr outside of the hearing room. Once he'd been expelled, or once he'd been censured, he wasn't allowed in there. He sits outside like this. You can see this picture, saying, Republicans used a series of procedures to remove every bill from my committees, silencing my constituents beyond what they already voted to do. My constituents elected me to speak on their behalf in committee and on the floor, and stopping me from doing so is anti-democratic. Actually, the one disrupting the democratic procedures is Zooey Zephyr. Now Zephyr has announced that he is suing. He says, I'm suing. The recent actions violate my First Amendment rights as well as the rights of my 11,000 constituents to representation. Montana's state house is the people's house, not Speaker Rieger's, and I'm determined to defend the right of the people to have their voices heard. Again, Zephyr is allowed to vote, just not to be on the floor because he abused the privilege of being on the floor by disrupting procedures.
Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.